Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of From the District with State Senator Suzanne Weber. I am joined, as always, with our illustrious senator. Senator, how are you?
Well, I'm good. It's nice to see you. It's nice to be here.
Always.
It's a good summer. We had rain this week,
Yes,
a
indeed.
wee bit of rain. I think Astoria had more than we did, but
Well,
it felt good with all of the fires in the state that we're dealing with right now. Yeah, I worry. I have that incessant worry about what could possibly happen here on the coast. We have lived through the Tillamook burn. What's going to happen? What could possibly happen? How can we keep it from happening?
I remember the Labor Day fires, 2020,
Yes.
2021. I remember just right behind my house, right up the Wilson.
Yes.
I remember I was pushing my son on a swing, and I remember I didn't want to be outside. I didn't want him to be outside, but he just insisted that we go outside.
Right.
And so we went outside, and I said, "Okay, only for 5 or 10 minutes, buddy." And I heard this zapping sound, and what I'd heard was the BPA line busting.
Yes.
And I kept seeing smoke. What I thought was smoke up there, but I mean everywhere was smoke, so I didn't know. And the power was out, so I'm boiling water on my barbecue outside for the baby's bottle, and I keep looking up there. I keep thinking, "Gosh, that looks like smoke. Gosh, it looks like smoke." And my wife finally said, "Why don't you go to the mouth of the canyon? Because again, no power, so no phone service, and just call and ask them to go check it out." And I felt awful because there was 3 other fires going on, thinking, "Oh gosh,
Yes.
I'm gonna be the guy who cried wolf here." Well, I called him and asked him to come check it out. And as I driving back up the canyon, the flames were coming up, and I thought, "Oh my gosh!" And
Yes.
that could happen again.
Right.
It's quite easy.
It's such a powerless feeling.
Yeah.
And I think about the people in Eastern Oregon losing the rangeland.
Yeah.
And is it a result of not allowing grazing? Is that why we have a stockpile of fuel there? I mean, there's all kinds of things to consider. And what could happen here is something I worry about.
And that's kind of a good, we usually start off with all the happy, fun things, but let's just get into all the things that make us sad.
We'll talk about the parades later.
Well, we'll talk about the parades and the fair and all that later. But just today, in the Statesman Journal, the Salem paper,
Yes.
there was a story about the 5th sawmill of 2024, which is only 7 months old.
Yes.
Have now 5 mills close.
Yes.
And one of the things one of the reasons that they state is continuing government regulations on small businesses and an unfavorable market for lumber. So it's certainly that.
And I worry.
Not helping.
I worry that it's going to continue this way. It's going to put people out of work. It's going to dislocate families. Banks. Look at banks. That was a vital part of that community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I know we've talked about this before, and I get really fired up about it because what has happened is a group of people have come in and blown up our communities, have blown up the timber industry, have blown it all up because of the misguided habitat conservation plan that was passed. And now they've come and they want to dialogue about solutions. And quite frankly, it is not incumbent on our side to come up with solutions because this is a problem that they created.
They created this problem. And you realize it's not only going to be the fuel load in the forest that's going to be impacted, the results in these fires. It's also going to be our school kids.
Yep.
Because we have in our district alone, we have 4 school districts that are funded by that timber money. We've got Nestucca, Neocani, Jewel, and Seaside.
Mhm.
So how are you going to make up that funding for those school districts? That money was not coming out of the taxpayers' pockets. That was coming from timber revenue.
Right.
So you're going to replace that. You're going to put that back on the taxpayers' back. And then you're going to have to equalize it because, it's a big sum of money. What is it going to be? $22 million?
Yep.
Potentially. Okay. And then we have our county governments. How are we going to be able to fund our county governments?
Right.
That money comes in, and 50% of it goes to our schools and our small districts and that sort of thing. But how are we going to continue our court system, our planning system, our health? I mean, all of those systems that come through our county. How are we going to do that without that revenue? And then we have the Department of Forestry. The Department of Forestry is also funded by that. So now you're going to throw all these things up in the air, juggle them, and who's going to be funded?
The Department of Forestry is already broke. It has
Yeah.
been broke.
Yes.
So now they're going to be more broke. So, but one of the big things I've heard from folks is we don't want to be crosswise with the EPA, so we've got to do this. Well, there were other options that probably wouldn't have made us crosswise from the EPA, and the EPA gets sued 10 times every hour. So sue them. Let's fight this out in court. Let's see if this is really what needs to be done. But our elected officials who actually have the authority to pass this thing, or our appointed officials, I guess.
Appointed officials. They were not elected.
Right. Who actually have the authority to pass this, did nothing of the sort. They just kind of threw in the towel, said, well, I guess we got to do something. Didn't fight. Didn't anything, just tossed our kids, tossed our communities, tossed our families, just tossed them under the bus without even any interest in fighting. And I know you.
And you realize that the vote was very close. There was only one vote difference between the ayes and the noes.
Yep. And I know that you and Representative Javity and others worked to pass legislation to force the board to rethink this. And unfortunately,
unsuccessfully,
the majority wouldn't even allow it to have a hearing. I think they maybe allowed it to have a courtesy hearing after the deadline, just so that we could talk about it. Which is, that seems to be the new Oregon way: talk about things to death and then do nothing, or do something damaging. But
it's not like this was the only plan.
Right,
there were other plans that could have been considered in the works.
No. One.
And it's not like people didn't come out and testify.
Oh gosh, in spades.
They were everywhere. They were that room in at the up in the Red Building in Astoria was full of people to testify.
Right. And it's and now without this, the governor is already saying, well, gosh, we don't have enough money for education.
Well, the governor is also looking at education and how it's funded. And it's, she's going to have to do a deep dive in order to see how it can, be done better with the amount of money we have.
Right. Well,
it's not going to be an easy job. And then to add more schools into the mix, that's going to be hard all the way around.
Well, we had part of this problem solved here at the coast, and we just totally unnecessarily blew it up. We hurt our fire districts, hurt our water districts, hurt our counties, hurt our cities, hurt it all, and for no good reason.
Right.
And it's just so disheartening. And I still remember, I've never read a letter to the editor that made me so indignantly angry as that letter to the editor in the Astorian. Of some local folks in Clatsop County who said, well, now that this is over, we're ready to work with you.
Right.
And I just wanted to tell them to go stick it in their ear. Like, you don't want to work with us. You just want to shove your ideas down everybody's throats, just like you did this HCP. And you guys caused this problem, so why don't you go find some solutions?
Right.
So certainly I know you are a much better person than I am, and that you will be at the table and you will fight no matter what. And this is why you're a state senator and I am a staffer. You are willing to do whatever it takes to help your people, and I
Well,
would have just yelled
yeah.
very, very loudly.
And I did have a meeting with the governor's office this past week to talk about this very thing, about how this is going to impact our communities. And the people in that meeting we're going to take the concepts back to the governor. There's going to be more meetings that are going to be held within the next few weeks. One of our county commissioners in Tillamook County is on that committee to look at this. But I'm worried.
Yeah.
I'm worried about my Jewel school district.
Yeah.
You know, initially there was a possibility that they could lose up to 70% of their funding.
Wow.
You know, this is bigger than the owl in the tree. This is also urban rural.
Yeah.
And, you know, we need to have our way of life preserved also, because we're the ones that are hopefully making the lumber so you can build all those 36,000 houses or buildings that you want to build in a year.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point that some people they don't think about is we need 55,000 units of housing. Well, just to break even, just today, like if you put 55,000 units on the ground today, then we'd break even. That's not even counting any more that we need as you're adding this new chip factory in Washington County or anything like that. So what do you think you make those things out of? You don't build them out of paper straws. You build them out of lumber.
Yeah.
So like, where's that lumber going to come from? Probably from Canada.
Yes. Yes, and you know,
or overseas.
there are other states in the United States that are looking at it as a crop.
Right.
And they're the ones that are going to be providing the raw materials to accomplish the goals for housing.
Right. It's always, when I was really active in local government, it just felt like they wanted us to be Portland's playground.
Yeah, I know. We were the Disneyland of Oregon.
Yeah. As long as we stayed pretty, and as long as we had all of our trees, and that somebody could come and drink our awesome beer and eat our cheese. Gosh, that's all that really mattered.
Right.
The people who actually want to raise a family and have their kids go to school, and make sure that the fire district is funded. Gosh, they don't really matter as long as it looks pretty. Well, when it all burns down because we don't have any money for our fire district, or when it all just closes up because our kids can't, because families leave because there's no place for them to go to school, like, you're not going to be able to play here anymore.
No.
So anyway, okay, we have that.
No. We especially need funds for our fire departments and our emergency services.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to interject that.
We do.
We have, when I talked to Chief Oder from down in Hebo, down at the south end of the county, and I hear the activity that they have with their volunteer group. I'll tell you that the 4th of July for those people was a nightmare. The number of calls that they had to Sand Lake, and people coming here and doing whatever they wanted without any kind of attention to safety, common sense. And then we've got to, bail them out. Right.
It really isn't. We have these districts that were created in a time where we didn't have this level of traffic in terms of tourists. And if we're going to continue to have millions, and I mean millions of people coming through the small communities. Man, we've got to do something different, and this is worse.
We're looking at Clatsop County, and one of the things that was, I did the tour of the deflection program and the jail and everything that's involved in that a week ago, and their Clatsop County's population can swell by 100,000 people in a weekend.
Wow.
How can you maintain common sense, order, and safety when you're still operating on funds that you don't know if they're going to be there?
Right.
You have a taxing district. You're limited by your taxing district. You have to depend on volunteers. There's just so much that needs to be considered in this.
Yeah, I think it was 2019. The numbers around the Tillamook Creamery. I mean, they have more visitors per year than the Space Needle.
Yes.
In a Space Needle in the city of millions of people.
Yes.
In the city of Tillamook of 5,000 people, they get more visitors.
Right.
The infrastructure is just untenable, and things like the HCP make it worse.
And at that time, we were looking at, when I was the mayor, we were looking at if we could just attract 1% of the people who visit the cheese factory into our downtown, what kind of vital area could we have? And
I think you've done it. Have you driven downtown lately?
Oh my goodness sake! Yeah.
I drove downtown a week or so ago, and boy,
things are changing.
1%, it's pretty darn close. I remember back when I was in high school and a little before, 90s, early 2000s, it was depressing downtown. I mean, stores were closed up. You had a massive vacancy rate, and now, my last time I talked to the chamber director, you had a dangerously low vacancy rate. You need to have that kind of 5 to 10% vacancy rate so that you can have some churn, and it's like 2%, and that's scary. I mean, it's great. It's a great problem to have, but it's a different problem than we had back when I was in high school.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, so we've done our monthly rail on the HCP, which, you know what? I don't feel bad about doing that every single time, because we need to rail on that thing because it's crap.
It is.
Let's talk about what we've got coming up legislatively. It is, as we record this, it's almost August. We are only 5 months away from the next legislative session.
Right. And you know what? I've been telling municipalities that come September, we're going to be coming to you to see what your capital construction projects, are going to be. What are you going to need? Because we are going, I'm always talking infrastructure that we have been so far behind on. Well, if we're going to make any kind of inroads, we have to know exactly what's going to be needed, what kind of plans you have made, so that we can start to lobby, especially the Ways and Means people and the committees, so that they can see what we need.
Right. And I would say, just as someone who has been your chief of staff and who had to put these things together for the committees who are doing the funding, please don't give us a drawing on the back of a napkin. The more work that you have done as a municipality, as a county, as a small district, that if you've got an infrastructure project, the more that you've had done, we can include for the committee to show that this is a serious project being led by serious people. The better chance that it's
the better chance you have. Yes.
And please don't make us come and find you saying, "Can we find you money? Can we find you money?" Please. It's now August, and we're asking now. If you've got a plan, we'll have the form. Katie will work with you to get that. But it is
there's things that are necessary from you that are going to make it successful for you. So, they need to get working on this.
And we've
And I
had,
know they have it. I've talked to several municipalities about, their plans for the future.
Mhm.
And I have explained that, this is important that we get this information. And so,
Now, you are a former mayor, so you say municipalities a lot, but it's not just cities. It can
no,
be
it's not.
counties,
It's
small
counties.
districts,
Yes.
anything like that. So I don't want
Thank
to
you.
make people think, well, you're a former mayor, cities are on your heart, and I
I know they're at my
that.
heart.
But whether it's a city or a small district, especially those small districts who are going to get spanked by the lack of funding from the HCP, let's get this infrastructure going now,
Right.
so we can get the funding in place. I think that would be really helpful. And one of the things that we really need funding on are some of these highway projects.
Yes.
These have been particularly, we just talked about millions of people coming over here. We also need to make sure that these major arterials were not designed to be major arterials.
Well, yeah, we have got to make sure that the plan is written on Highway 30.
Right.
Now, we have had some serious accidents there within the last 2 weeks.
Right.
I believe that the death count is 4 people that were killed in the Clatskanie Hill area. There are safety measures that we need to take into consideration, and we need to remediate, especially in that area.
Right.
And then we have, on the other end, we have slides, and we have areas that are, sinking. We need to take that all into consideration. We have to look across the district at all of the issues that we need to take care of. When you look at between milepost 31 and 35 on Highway 6, we know what the problems are. And, every time I go over that highway, I see that we've got a new lift of asphalt on there to try and take care of some of that that's slumping away. I look up on the hillside, I see that trees are sliding down in the area where we had the big slide last time. I know that this is unstable ground, and we have got to find ways to, it's an economic issue. How are we going to sustain ourselves if we have no way in and out?
Well,
And it's the other thing is, okay, so we're spending our money on the Rose Quarter and that issue. And so as a result, the bridge that we need replaced up here on Juneau Hill, the railroad bridge, is going to be put on hold because that money has to go to alleviating traffic issues in Portland. So
right.
it's not only economic, but it's rural and urban divide.
Which I would also say, for folks saying, well, gosh, a bridge in Portland. Yeah. What's important to remember, though, about that bridge in Portland is that the more our Tillamook cheese truck is sitting trying to get through that mess over that bridge, the longer it's going to take them to get to its destination, which means more
Right.
fuel they're going to use, which means more costs. So I want us to make sure that those folks in our district who may be upset about infrastructure projects in the metro area, the reality is that almost all the stuff that comes in and out of Tillamook County and Clatsop County and Washington County, they have to go through that mess.
Yes, they do.
So we do need to fix that. But what I think was a big frustration about things like that is that you've got very far left protesters who are fighting us on that, which is raising the cost of that
exponentially
bridge exponentially, which means that Juneau Hill bridge can't get done because that money, which would have been able to pay for that Juneau Hill bridge, is now having to be caught up in this other thing. And that's the sort of thing that's frustrating. It's not that we shouldn't be doing these things in Portland. It's that Portland makes them so much more expensive unnecessarily.
Yeah, I agree.
So I know one of your priorities is getting this Highway 30 study done.
Right. So we can add that to our, collection of data that we can use to possibly leverage the projects getting completed.
And what has been a massive frustration, I know, for all of us, is that while the Highway 6 bill, ODOT had no problem with it. I don't know if they were supporting, but they certainly were helpful. ODOT has fought us tooth and nail on this Highway 30 bill.
Yes, they have.
And it has gotten, and now we have 4 more people dead. So ODOT, what's your plan? We got 4 more dead people. What are you gonna say to their families?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm fiery today. I am just
cranky.
Yes,
you are. You sure are.
I am cranky. Like, people are just make governing so much harder than it has to be.
Well, yeah. Well, something that we've talked about perfunctorily was the lawsuit that I've been involved in on readability.
Yes.
And when it comes down to is what we're talking about once again, which is law. So do we pass a law that's going to be enforced or followed, or do we not pass a law?
Right.
And that's basically what that lawsuit comes down to. If the law says that the summaries, not the bills, the summaries are to be written to an 8th grade level, and you passed this in 1979, and you probably haven't followed it since 1982, why have the law? Why haven't you changed it? Or is this one of those moments when you think, oh, so you're passing a lot of laws on a regular basis. Are you passing them to be enforced, to be used, or are they just something that you can ignore?
Well, and that goes to people saying, "Oh gosh, can't you read? Do you not understand what they?" Okay, there's several responses to that. Like, one, I guarantee you, at least a sizable minority, if not a flat-out majority, of legislators don't understand most of the bills they pass.
Right, and you know what? Legislators have stood up on the floor to testify in favor of a bill, saying, I'm not sure how this is going to be enforced or how we're going to, manage this, and voted for it. And we have it without any kind of thought to the future.
Right. And then the other side of it is, doesn't your average Joe deserve to understand what a bill does?
Yes.
Shouldn't you not have to have a law degree? These are all written by lawyers, by the way. The legislature has a staff of lawyers who writes these bills, and if you run them through the Flesch-Kincaid score, that actually tells you like what level of reading
it is.
Half of them are in law school,
right?
At a law school reading level, and that is just so frustrating to your average Joe, who should be able to just look at a summary and say, oh, that's what that does. And I will say, to their credit and to your credit, because you forced them to, they actually have a summary, at least a part of the summary.
Yes.
That is written at that 8th grade reading level. So if you are just an average guy who, and 8th grade reading level, to break everybody's heart, that's about what the average American reads at. Just an average Joe who's reading a law, who can just see what it does.
Exactly.
Why is that such a big deal? And you fought that fight, and you kind of lost, but you kind of won, because you actually got to do it.
Yeah, in the Senate rules, there is one line, and it says that all summaries will be written in compliance with 171.134. You go to 171.134 and you find out the law and how it is supposed to be used.
Right. So the Senate's been breaking its own rules for years.
Breaking its own rules.
Yep.
Yeah. So, which is something else I need to bring up here. Wow. I know we're long in the tooth here talking about this, is that we have an initiative coming forward, IP-17.
Yes. Yes.
And they have submitted enough signatures. It will be on the ballot.
Mm-hmm.
And if you haven't heard about this, the thing that I found so amazing is with every initiative, somebody has been at the Tillamook Safeway here with a clipboard and giving you a 10-second thing, review of what they want your signature for. And people sign them. I don't sign petitions, but without really knowing what's happening. Well, IP-17 is an initiative that has come from big money in California.
Yep.
They have in their mind that Oregon is this state where you can go and experiment with these social programs. And that is what this is. This social program is going to break the backs of our business. It's going to discourage business from coming to Tillamook, because what it is doing is going to be another tax on gross income of over $25 million, with the hope of then redistributing that money at a $750 price tag to each citizen who meets the requirements within the state of Oregon. And it's going to drive, already we have a business in Medford that was granted money and it's a chip company, manufacturer. And you know what? They're not going to spend that money in Oregon to develop building. They're going to Florida. And the CEO said, well, it's just too expensive to do business in Oregon. So here we are, going to be hit one more time. We were an experiment with 110 that was, propagated on the East Coast. Now we're, California's coming at us. Right. Come on, guys, leave us alone.
It's it's $750 to pretty much every you said that qualifies. Pretty much anybody who spends a portion of the year in Oregon. So
right.
You get your $750 a year. Phil Knight, $750 a year. The homeless guy on the waterfront who's doing meth, $750 a year. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter as long as you are an Oregonian in any way, shape, or form. You get your $750. This is such a ridiculously insane idea. The governor has come out against it.
Yes.
Tina Kotek says this is too far. That should just be the entire ballot measure campaign. Kotek says this goes too far. It's so I really hope that that Oregonians will kick this away. The Oregonians beat the grocery receipts tax the first time, Measure 97. The only reason we have it is because the legislature then turned around and said, screw voters, we're doing it anyway. Because the voters said no to a grocery receipts tax.
Yeah, they did.
I firmly believe they'll do it again because this is insane. This is not just a bad idea. This is absolutely insane. I cannot fathom Oregonians doing this. And God's honest truth, if we do this, we deserve what we get, and we deserve it good and hard. This is just an absolutely awful idea. And I hope
it is.
I hope they'll hear the Oregonians will see through this California idea. If you want to do this in California, why don't you guys try it there?
Yeah, try it there.
Lots of money around down there. You guys go do that down there. Leave us alone.
Right.
Okay. We've talked about a lot of rough stuff. Let's talk about happy stuff. We got the fairs coming up.
Oh, I can hardly wait. Yes, I got to go. I got a preview. I got to go to the Columbia County Fair.
Oh, cool.
That's an awesome fair. I had a really good time.
Columbia County Fair. I need to do that.
Oh my gosh, they have the best milkshakes there you could ever imagine.
What?
And yeah. Oh yeah. And they are good. Oh my goodness, they're thick and rich. They also have a plant sale there that is awesome. And then they have the rodeo with it. Tillamook County Fair is coming up.
Yes, indeed.
Actually, Clatsop County Fair is this weekend.
Oh, heck.
Yeah.
Okay.
They have beautiful grounds for the Clatsop County Fair. I like
Yeah.
to go there too.
That's
And then
my favorite.
Tillamook County Fair is the one I work at.
Of course.
Because I've been working that fair for a time eternal. Because I think it is an important social and economic event within our county.
I remember when I was like in junior high, you were running the Sacred Heart booth then. And of course, the Sacred Heart booth is no more, but gosh, that was just, you've been doing this a long time.
Yes. I just have switched jobs. I'm still in food. There's a group of us that provide the food for the staff that work there, and for make sure that Parimutuel, because we have horse races, has enough to eat. And the guys in the doghouse, the guys who groom the track for the races. So it's lunch and dinner and snacks.
Hey, I consume so many calories at the Tillamook County Fair. I should not have to eat until the next Tillamook County Fair. It is.
Yes.
There is so much good food.
Yes. And I always think that I'm eating healthy when I go and get, go to the corn dog place and get zucchini on a stick. I mean, I know that's false, but
that's probably the healthiest thing I'd eat.
I love zucchini on a stick.
You know, sometimes you got to put your diet aside.
You do.
And actually enjoy life.
Right.
Those are the 3 or 4 days that I do that. And I am a man who loves the ponies. So usually my time is spent triangulating between the horse racing, the beer gardens, and whatever restaurant I'm going to happen to hit for that meal. But it is just so, you see so many people and
come home for the fair.
Absolutely. And that, you know, a lot of places, a lot of classes have their class reunions.
Yes, they do.
Or family reunions because they know that so many people are going to be at the fair anyway. So definitely my favorite part of Tillamook life. So you'll definitely be enjoying that as well. Senator, when we talk next, we'll be coming right up on the next set of legislative days, which will be the last legislative day before the election. I think you'll have legislative days again in December.
December we have legislative days also.
Yeah. So at that point things will shake out, but
yes.
Probably next month we will talk about elections because
we'll talk about elections. We'll talk more about bills coming forward.
Yep. And we'll probably complain about the HCP again.
We probably will.
I mean,
and we probably will complain about transportation issues. I mean, that's not something we're going to take care of just suddenly.
No, but hopefully we'll start getting some good proposals in for funding from cities and counties and small districts so that we can start planning to fix some of these issues. So,
right.
Senator, anything else you want to talk about?
I think I've just about covered it.
All right. Well,
I appreciate you doing this, Adam, with me.
Always my best part of my month. Thoroughly enjoy it.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Senator. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. And we will we will see you next time.
Yeah, the newsletter's coming out, so we'll have other information there.
Katie, she just put you on the spot, and now you got to do it.
Oh, she's been working on this like crazy. Oh, yes.
Good.
Yeah.
It's always good information too. Stuff
that
I don't know.
Yes.
If you love the newsletter, it's Katie who does most of it. So
yes.
Big thanks to her for putting that together. And it's particularly a fun job during session. We do one every week.
Yes.
But
oh yes.
All right. Thank you very much, Senator. Thank you very much for watching, and we will catch you next time.
Catch you next time. Thank you.